Welcome to another episode of Dad Up, everyone. Thank you guys very much for joining me. I have Thom Gibson on the show today, and I'm excited to hear a little bit more about what he wants to share with you guys because I think it's very interesting. Work from home. He's a runner and he loves his family, he loves his kids. And so I'm excited for him to share a little bit more about his journey. But he and I have just recently connected. And so I'm looking forward to just kind of learning more about him and having him share what he's doing with you because it's important. So welcome to the show, Tom.
Thanks, Brian. It's good to be here.
Yeah, you and I were chatting a little bit before, obviously our exercise journey with the running and all that kind of stuff. You're an I should say avid runner because you do run. You run about 50 miles a month or so, and that's plenty of miles to get on there on your feet. Um, Tell me about it. I mean, how did you get into running? I mean, why did you get into it?
Yeah, I think I started running more in college. I don't know what it was, but I just remember the first time that I ran like 6 miles. I was like, whoa, like I just ran 6 miles because up to that point it was like three, like max, you know? And so running's just kind of always been something that I've done a little bit in the periphery. But even now, I would say like around 2019, that was like, it was just a couple years after I had turned 30. And I was like, you know what? I want to run a marathon. And so I ran my first marathon. It was the Austin Marathon at the beginning of 2019. And then, Austin is just like, an hour and a half north of San Antonio. My parents were down in San Antonio, and San Antonio had a marathon at the end of the year. So I was like, well, why don't I also do the San Antonio Marathon? And so those are the only two marathons that I did. But I really started ramping up a lot in 2020. Not only because the pandemic, but we also had our first child. Our daughter was born 2 weeks before the pandemic, and so
Wow.
it was like going outside and running was like the one way I was able to just like get out of the house. And once she was like old enough to sit upright a little bit in the stroller, it was one of my favorite ways to just spend time with her. I would put her in the stroller. We would go running, and we would just, run 4, 5, 6 miles. It was also a great way to kind of like give my wife some time for herself. I'm like, hey, let me just let me go take Audrey. We'll go for a run for about an hour and we'll be back.
Well,
And
what did that mean to you? I mean, you have these stroller runs that you're doing, and you got your daughter in the stroller, I mean, what did that mean to you as a dad to be able to spend that time with her and still being out and exercising?
Yeah, I felt it was a way to kind of give everyone what they needed. It's like
Yeah.
me being out there, I'm getting my exercise. Her, she just loved being outside and seeing the trees and feeling the wind. My wife was getting some either time to work out herself or just time to rest. And even now, she's a little bit older. So we, as a family, we ran the Austin 10K, and we
Oh,
have two
cool.
kids now. Thomas, he's about two, and Audrey and Thomas were in the double stroller this time in the 10K, and me and my wife were running together too. And Audrey, what I love about running is like she sees me running, and she sees like how much how important it is to me, and that like how exercise is just a part of my life and my routine, and so she wants to do it more, and so it's like modeling that kind of like healthy lifestyle. And so she ran probably 2 of the 6 miles in the 10K, where she's just running. She wants to hold my hand or hold my wife's hand, and then she'd get tired, and then she'd jump back in. She's like, "I'm ready to run again." It's a okay, stop, And what's funny for me, like when she started doing more of that, I had to kind of like. A part of me was like, okay, like you ran a little bit, now get back in, or this is gonna really wreck my pace, And so I had to like let go of that and be like, what's more important is just like us getting out, her just starting to fall in love with just running and moving her body and being outside and something that we can do together. And even now, like when she was real little, I would just put on my headphones and listen to podcasts while I was running.
Right.
But now that, she's 5, almost 6, she's talking more. And so there was like an in between mode where I'd have my headphones on and she'd start talking to me and I'd be like, wait, what did you say? And then she'd say, I'm like, okay. And she stopped talking. And then I'd be like, okay, I think she's done talking. I'd put my headphone in. As soon as I put it in, she's like, and you
Yeah.
know what else? And I'm like, okay.
Right.
So now I'm like, you know what? I'm not even gonna take the headphones. Let this time be just time that we can talk and connect. And I think the longest run that I've ever done with her in Austin, there's like a lake downtown, and there's just like this beautiful like running trail around it. About a month ago, we ran 11 miles. She just wanted to keep going. And I'm like, all right, let's keep going. And
Wow.
it was wonderful. It was just time to just like talk. And she's like, do you like that bridge? Is this your favorite bridge? What's your favorite bridge to run across? And I'm like, I like this one because it's the
That's
middle.
so cool. I love that. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just love watching you. First of all, watching you talk about your daughter and enjoying the connection and you sharing how you guys would connect. Watching you smile and just get, I could tell you really enjoy it. I can tell you love it. And you're right. It's that time to connect. It's that time to really, like you said, take out the headphones and let's just we'll talk when we want to talk and we'll just run when we're
Hmm.
running and look at that dog, look at that tree. What kind of tree is that? What kind of flower is that? Look at the sky, how it's in. Look at the shape
Yeah.
of the cloud. I mean, yeah, I could just imagine what little kids are saying at that time. My boys, they were athletes their whole lives. Played basketball their whole lives. My younger son was even played basketball in college, and they hated running. They couldn't stand it. My older son, he's a gym rat. If he could live at the gym, he would. But he likes to go and work out that way. Like he lifts weights constantly. But running, no, not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. But I'll tell you, I did my one of my marathons this year was in Arizona, and my younger son said he wanted to run the 10K
Mm.
at the marathon, and so he did his own training. I asked him if he wanted to train together, and he's like, "No way." He goes, "You're insane. I'm not doing that. I'm not running those miles." I'm like, "No, no, no. I'll keep it. I won't go we'll keep it training for the 10K, but then on the days that I have to go longer, I'll just go longer." But
Mm.
he's like, "Nope." He goes, "I'll do my own training. I don't want any distractions." I go, "Okay." And he did though. But what was cool is he when I was running the marathon, he was running the 10K, and we took a picture together with our medals at the end of the race, and it was just cool to have that. Even though we didn't run together, to have that experience with him and to have him enjoying that, even though he said he'll never do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, and something you had said before we started recording, just about, like how you really just prioritize being as present and as involved as you could with your kids' lives. And some of the advice that I had gotten before we had kids was one of my friends. His kids were already grown, and he's just like, man, just do all you can, like coach the sports, go to the meetings, like do all that stuff because it's gonna go by quick. And now my daughter, she just started a kindergarten at a charter school, and I saw that they had a run club on Friday, like every other Friday or something like that. And so they were like asking for like parent volunteers and stuff. And so like that advice rang true. I'm like, oh, okay, this will be my opportunity, and it's something I love to do anyways. And so it's really fun. It's literally just elementary school kids just running laps around, and I'm passing out a popsicle stick every time they run by so they can keep track of they're holding their popsicle sticks. And so super fun though.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome that you're getting involved that way, and like you said, it's something that you love to do. Well, let's kind of dive into a little bit about what you're doing now. I know that you've got this work from home program, and so let's talk a little bit more about that. Tell me about it. Let's tell the dads about it, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, work from home dads. It started just because I began working from home back in 2020. So being a dad and starting to work from home kind of like happened at the same time for me, given that Audrey was born 2 weeks before the pandemic. I was a classroom teacher, and so after my paternity leave, I came back to remote teaching, and just trying to figure out like, okay, what are we gonna do for childcare also amidst this pandemic that's going on, and how am I going to teach? And my wife's a pediatrician, so she was still going into the clinic and working there. And I ended up leaving teaching and starting to work for a startup for a little while. And Audrey was at an age where she was like, working, she was sleeping a lot, which was super helpful. She like napped from noon to 3. So I was like, okay, those are my 3 core hours of the day, but I'm also gonna wake up, 5 o'clock so I can kind of get some work done before my wife leaves for work. And it was just like, several years of just navigating like, okay, how's this gonna work? How am I gonna get my work done? And then, our son came along in October of 2022. And then I was transitioning to a new role where I was working in marketing, but still working from home. And so I created what started just as a newsletter for work from home dads, where it was just like, okay, like how do you balance all of this? Like, how do
Mhm.
you, when your work and your home life is like occupying the same space? Because the more I talked to dads, the more I was realizing like so many dads were just like struggling with creating those boundaries. They don't know what those boundaries could look like. They didn't know, how they were working 8, 9, 10 hours from home. They were like, I don't know, like I'm not even getting any time for like working out. Like on top of that, like so many work from home, so many dads in general don't have many friends. And then you add working remote on top of that. So now they're not even going into an office and seeing colleagues. And unless you're a part of some kind of like, exercise program or go to the gym, or if you're, go to a church and some kind of men's Bible study or something like that, so many guys were just like disconnected. And so I was just sharing it started as just sharing like different strategies that and different things that have worked for me when it comes to not only like my time management, but like my own physical health, my own, mental health, and my relationships, my own, relationship with my wife. Like, how do we manage, us working together, and, like when I need to work or when she needs to work or when she needs her time, when I need my time, like, how do we have those conversations, and how do we be, proactive about those conversations and not reactive and frustrated, and, which breeds resentment because like, I thought you were going to take the kids and now I got it, all sorts of
Mhm.
problems like that. And so really this is, I created this, this newsletter and this program to really support other dads that are in the thick of it as well, because like, I talk to dads that are kind of in the same place as me. They got like little kids, and also dads that are like, yeah, my kids are about to, leave the house, or they've already left the house, and
Right.
all, just kind of learning all the different ways and the different stages of life and connecting with the different dads that are working remote.
Okay, cool. I think that one of the things that you share as far as working from home is the 6 hour workday playbook.
Yeah.
And how did you come up with 6 hours? What's that? I mean, why is it not five? Why is it not seven? Why is it 6 hours? I mean, how did you figure that out? And what does that mean, the 6 hour workday playbook?
Yeah, it started really 6 hours because it's what I was finding. I was on average able to work when I was able to kind of like systemize, prioritize, and create a system, as opposed to just like, I think many dads just work until the work is done, or until like they can make it to the end of the day. So a lot of dads, I don't even think they track their time, so they don't even know how many hours they're working. And if they do, a lot of times it's over 8, 8, 9, 10 hours that they're working. And I said 6 hours because I feel like that is what is feasible. I think a lot of dads are like, okay, if I kind of pulled a Tim Ferriss and not only a 4 hour work week, but said a 4 hour work day, I think that's out of reach for a lot of dads who work remote. Maybe not if you own your own business and you can kind of call the shots, but if you are, working for a company as an individual contributor, working 4 hours is probably not realistic. I think in some cases it may be doable, but I found 6 hours is kind of like that's doable. And like that's something like if you could shave, like if you're working on average 8 hours a day, if you could shave 2 hours, like that a day, that opens up 10 hours a week for you. Like that's time that you can spend with your family. That's time that you can work out. That's time that you can connect with people and friendships and other relationships. That's time that you can, like a lot of the dads that I talk to, they're building something else on the side. They got their day job and they're like, I got this like this itch to kind of build something of my own or create a personal brand or some kind of like online thing, like having more time for things like that. So that's where the 6 hours came from, because I feel not only is it realistic and feasible for most dads, it does open up a lot of opportunities when you think about like, well, like what would I do if I had 10 more hours in the
Mm,
week?
mm. Well, how did your own family though help influence the 6 hour workday playbook? How did your own family? I mean, you've got your own family that you're attending to, your kids and your wife and all that. How did they influence it?
Yeah, for us, it was definitely different seasons of life, because there was, the time where I was working at the startup, and Audrey was real little, and she was really good at napping, and I was able to, at that time, it was like a 5 hour workday for me, but I was very focused,
Right.
and it changed though, like when my son came along and he wasn't nearly as like, of a rock solid sleeper as my daughter was. He was like maybe an hour and a half in the afternoons. And then I'm like, ooh, I don't know if this is gonna work. And so we had to like kind of figure out like what's the childcare situation going to look like? We don't live near family. We have family. My wife's family is 3 hours away. My family is like a little over an hour away. And so no one was like, grandparents couldn't just come over and help out like on a quick notice or anything like that. And so we started looking at, preschool and Montessori school and things like that. Or when Audrey was real little, it was like, is a nanny going to be an option? And, now both kids are in school, but even like with the family dynamic, something that I get in the playbook, like really early on, is like, me and my wife had to kind of come to an agreement on like what's gonna be our standard schedule, and as part of that schedule, it's like what are gonna be my work hours, where it's like unless the house is burning down, like I'm like in the office doing work hours, because like it's very easy to be like, oh, like Tom's downstairs. Hey, Tom, can you come bring this thing upstairs for me? Or can you come help out with the kids in this way or something like that? Which, like is super difficult if you're like really trying to focus on work. And then it's like, it's just a moment, but it's like, it's the context switching that does the damage, because then it's like, okay, now I got to sit down. What was I working on? What was it? And, like you lose that momentum, and it's hard to get that deep work done. And that's what some of the conversations that we were having. But like when we were talking, it's like, okay, not only do like, if we're going to talk about me getting like my specific work hours, like we also have the conversation of like, when is she going to get her time for herself, because
Mm.
she's also working, and so it's like, it's not like, okay, you work and watch the kids all day, so we came up with an agreement that was like, okay, from this time to this time, the mornings, I'm going to be working. And then, when she leaves her work, I'm managing the kids. And then, when she picks up the kids and comes home, I'm going to be done working at 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock on the dot, not 4:07, 4 o'clock, because then that gives her an hour to work out, to go take a bath or whatever she needs to do for herself, and then I've got the kids. And it's like, we've agreed on these times that work for us and work for where our family's at in this season right now. And I think that's what a lot of dads that I talk to like are missing. Like one of my friends was like, like it seemed like every week him and his partner, they were trying to figure out like, she wants to go do her yoga class, but it's usually like at 9, and some days that works for me and some days that wasn't. And I was like, what if you just said like every day from 9 to 11, that's your time. And then that way, like, okay, I'm going to schedule my meetings as much as I can outside of those times, because that's when he's watching his son. And then, his partner, she's able to go do what she needs to go do. He's like, yeah, that's the move. I don't know why I didn't think of that before, but just having that, like, kind of like that default schedule that you both agree on, that you can both get what you need. And then every week, of course, like you may need to deviate. Like my wife may need to leave for work early someday, or may have to stay late someday, or I may say like, hey, I end up I had to schedule a meeting at 4:15, and so I'm gonna have to do that. But make up for it by, making sure that you get your morning to yourself. Because like I just want to make sure she's getting what she needs. She's wanting to make sure I get what I need. And that only happens when we're both communicating and we're both talking about
Right.
those different changes. Because the worst thing is when it's like she gets home, it's 4 o'clock, and then I just, oh, by the way, I have a 30-minute meeting at 4:15 that I wasn't able to schedule around. And now she's frustrated because she's like, oh, I thought I was planning on going to my yoga class and now I can't do that. And now I'm frustrated because she's frustrated. It
Right.
leads to like this resentment and this frustration. And then, I don't show up for work in the way that I want to show up because I've got that residual frustration at home. And then the kids, like they can sense that. And so it's like so much of it is just making sure you're on the same page, not only with the default schedule, but week to week. Every Sunday, we're talking about like, oh, Audrey's got that appointment. Are you taking off work to take her, or am I going to take? Okay, I'll take her. So I need to make sure that I accommodate for that in my work schedule. That I need to go pick her up early. So we have that conversation every Sunday, like for 10 minutes, and we've got like I've got my Google Calendar that I've shared with her, and she sees that, and she really likes having the dry erase calendar up on the fridge. Like she erases the entire thing every week, not every month, every week, and then starts like the current week is always the top week on the calendar. And for her, she loves being able to see what's coming. Everything's color coded, and so like that's like what makes her feel like okay. I've got a good sense of like what our week's going to look like. I've got a good sense of what our next 4 weeks are going to look like, and so we're all on the same page. And I can just imagine like once the kids are even older, and there's all these different moving parts
Mhm.
about like this Audrey's got this practice, and Thomas is going to jujitsu,
Yep.
and so we've kind of like
Buckle
tried to
up.
set this system up early.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it comes to scheduling. It's funny you talk about it because it's crazy how much we schedule other things, but we're not even focused on scheduling family time. So I schedule doctor's appointments, I schedule meetings. My wife, schedules her meetings. We've got all these different things that we worry about scheduling. I schedule my workouts, like I know what days I'm going for runs, and my wife has specific days that she works out, and
Hmm.
so we're so dialed in on other things, and then we miss our family, scheduling our family. So one of the things that you were talking about there is obviously being with the kids and spending that time with the kids. But you guys have, like you said, your wife goes and erases every single week. She goes and erases the whole month, and then puts the new week down. I mean, that's something that my wife and I had to kind of figure out very early on. We would sit down our day was Sunday. We would sit down every Sunday evening. Usually we're watching TV or eating dinner or something, and we would go through our week. What do we
Hmm.
have coming up this week? And we would make sure that each of us are taken care of as far as what we need and the time we need to take care of the things that we have to take care of for the
Hmm.
week. And we would just say, okay, what do we have going on Monday? And then we make sure, I used to write it down, and I put it in my phone is where I'd keep it. And okay, we got that going on Monday. Okay, what about Tuesday? Okay, but I have this Tuesday. Well, you have that Tuesday. Okay, so let's
Hmm.
make sure we schedule. We did that every single day for the week, and we did that every Sunday night. That was our time to go,
Yep.
okay, what do you got going on this week? What do we have to figure out? When are we going to dial in time for the kids? When are we going
Yep.
to spend some family time together? Those things are super important, and it's 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 crazy how much families don't think about just scheduling time.
Yep.
They just go through the week, and sometimes, obviously, we have little things that get in the way. Something
Hmm.
happens, where it just throws a kink into our whole schedule, like a meeting pops up that we didn't
Yep.
plan on. I mean, those things do happen, but when you schedule, it's amazing how much you can actually get done in a week,
Yes.
and not even
Yeah.
realize it.
Yeah, because like otherwise, like when you're not scheduling, you are in that reactive mode all
Right,
the time, as opposed to like, oh, there's a one-off like this meeting on Wednesday that I didn't anticipate, and like
right.
you have that conversation, and then there's more grace because it's not, happening all the time, and you're not constantly in that reactive mode because you have taken the time to be proactive about what the week and the month is going to look like.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that you talk about is something called the time freedom framework.
Hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about that? How can dads practically start reclaiming hours in their week with the time freedom framework?
Yeah, the time freedom framework is mildly adapted from the Tim Ferriss 4 hour work week, but 4 hour work week's not practical for most of us.
Right.
In that he talks about what are things in your week that you can either automate, eliminate, delegate, and the one that I threw in there is renegotiate. And I actually want to talk about that last one first because I think that's like the low hanging fruit. I was talking to one dad, and he was asking me, he's like, do you know, like I don't, is a 6 hour workday feasible for me? He's a global team lead at his company, and a lot of times he has 6 hours worth of just meetings a day.
Hmm.
And so I told him, I was like, well, maybe not, depending on your role. But, if he's in a position to renegotiate what some of those meetings are, except as opposed to just accepting, like, I just have to have 6 hours of meetings every day. It's like, are there meetings that maybe you're meeting every week that you could meet every 2 weeks? Are there 60-minute meetings that maybe could be 30-minute meetings? Are there meetings that are 30-minute meetings that could be 20-minute meetings? Are there meetings that instead of having a meeting, you could have an asynchronous video chat where you record a video of yourself with an update, like using an app like Loom or something, and then send it to the people that are involved and then they respond in kind? Like there's all these opportunities to be like, okay, maybe I, I've been doing a thing and I continue to do it because that's how I've always done it, but maybe there's opportunity to renegotiate some of this stuff. Delegate is another one. As a dad, a couple of the things that I started to delegate was like mowing the lawn. We don't have a very big lawn. I don't like mowing the lawn. I'm not very good at mowing the lawn. And there's a guy that comes and does it, not for not very much money, and I'm like, here now I can actually, just hang out with my family on a Saturday afternoon. Now, if you like mowing the lawn and that's like your time to decompress, you don't have to delegate it just because you can. But that was one of the things that we delegated, and like one of the things that we've, a lot of people thinking like, how do you? I feel like childcare falls under the delegation side of things sometimes.
Hmm.
For us, like early on, we during the pandemic, we didn't want to send our daughter to daycare, so we delegated some of that childcare to grandparents who came and stayed a week at a time. And then after that, we delegated to like having a nanny who came several days a week when I was, having to go to school and teach, and then I would stay home on hybrid days. And then when the kids got a little bit older, we delegated to preschool. And I know there's a lot of guilt around that, for a lot of
Hmm.
families, like, oh, I really want to be able to, be there for my kids, but it's like, like we are very quick to say it takes a village, but
Right.
then but then we guilt ourselves into feeling like I'm not the entire village. I should be able to handle this, or me and my partner and my wife should be able to handle this. And it's like, no, like it takes a village. And yeah, you don't want your kid gone for 12 hours a day, but maybe they can be in school for 4 hours or 6 hours or something like that, so that way you and your partner can get your work done. And so like I know there's a lot of emotions about that, but I do think that like dads and parents can give themselves a little bit of grace when it's like if they're in a season of life where they can't always be there and available as much as maybe they would like to be able to delegate some of that, and then automate, so many things, especially with AI. There's so many opportunities to find things in your week that you could automate, like even like taking notes for a meeting. There's so many apps out there now that you have like an AI note taker that you can go in and it's going to write down everything that was said. It's going to write down the action points. Now there's so many things, and even like project management systems like Notion or Monday or ClickUp, that you like. I just watched a video that showed how the guy he's using ClickUp, and it went through, and one of the worst hardest things about like project management is like, okay, let me go in, let me say how long this task is going to take, let me assign this task to the right person, let me make sure like this task is dependent on the task before it. All that takes time. And then he just told the AI what it needed to do, and then it basically filled in all of those things, and it remembered like, oh, this person, this social media content needs to be reviewed by someone on the team, and the last time you did it, you had, Danny review it, so we're going to assume that Danny needs to review it again. And so like there's so many opportunities to automate with AI. So like if you're using those tools, go check out their YouTube channel or read the emails where they say like, these are the AI updates we have because it could be saving you time. And even more of like a practical sense from like managing the household. We have a grocery store, but I think since the kids have been born, I don't think there's been a single week that we have gone as an entire family to go shop for the entire week's groceries, like with the kids. Like we go in and like I've saved a bunch of like recipes that I always make. I like to cook. I'm the one that cooks in our house, and I have like 10 recipes that I just kind of alternate through, and some of them we do every week. And so I make fajitas every Tuesday. And so like in my grocery store app, there's like a little list of all the ingredients that I need for fajitas. And then I'm like, oh, we've got cheese, we've got salsa, definitely need more chicken, need more steak, need more tortillas. We don't need anything else. And then I add that to the cart, and then I do that. Okay, we're doing pork tenderloin. What do we have? What do we need? It takes me 10 minutes to actually like do my grocery shopping, and then we go pick it up on Saturday morning. So it's like I've automated and streamlined a lot of those things so that way I can free up the time. And so in the playbook that I walk through, like what does it look like to automate, to delegate, to eliminate, and to renegotiate different things. Because you need to do that so that way you can begin to see like, okay, where can I begin to create pockets of time? Because if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're not going to find time. You need to make time, and this is a big aspect of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about those four key points. I've kind of playing through in my own head the stuff that I've done just over the years. I mean, the pandemic. I mean, as tough and as frustrating and as scary as it was for people. And for people, that got sick from it and all that stuff. So, I mean, obviously we lost people over it and all
Mhm.
that kind of thing. I mean, as sad as it was and as tough as it was, it opened up a lot of opportunities
Mhm.
because it opened up a lot of opportunities of the work from home. I
Mhm.
mean, there's a lot of companies. I mean, a lot of companies that went remote as soon
Yep.
as the pandemic hit, right? Well, they weren't remote before, but somehow magically now they're remote and they know
Yeah.
how to do it. And now, there's a lot of companies that want people to come back, but a lot of companies are staying hybrid. Like you're
Yeah.
going to work remote part of the week and be in the office the other part of the week. So there were things that I did just in doing the podcast and the stuff that I do at the household um, that freed up time. My podcast, I used to do all my editing in the beginning. The first
Mhm.
first year or two, I did all the editing myself, and that used to take hours out of my week. I
Yeah.
mean, it was 10 hours at least during the week
Mhm.
just to do the editing for one show. And now I have an editor and I pay, it costs me a little bit of money, but I
Yeah.
figure that my time is more valuable.
Mhm.
My time is more valuable than the money that I'm spending to have
Yes.
to pay this editor to do my editing. So now when I do the recording, yeah, I spend the time to do the recording. This is the fun part, right? Then all I do is I send the raw data off to him. He
Mhm.
does all the editing for me and then sends it back and it's ready to go. I don't have to do
Yeah.
nothing. And
Yeah.
so that freed up 10 hours a week for me right there, at least 10
Yeah.
hours a week for me right there on one show. And think about I record typically 2 to 3 shows a week. So when you're
Mhm.
talking about 10 hours for one episode, I mean, it was insane. And
Yeah.
so there's no way I would have lasted 6 years doing it myself.
Yeah.
But the same thing with the same thing with the lawn. I've used to mow the lawn when my kids were younger, and then I hired a gardener because I was tired of doing it. I was frustrated doing it. The pandemic opened up, you're talking about grocery shopping. The
Yeah.
pandemic opened up opportunities for us to be able to just pull up and have somebody bring our stuff out
Yep.
to our car. So now you're not in the store buying frivolous stuff. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine you going through the store and you're like, okay, I need this and this and this. But then the next thing you know, you have 12 things in your cart and you
Yep.
only wanted to pick up three because you saw,
Yep.
oh, that looks good, or oh, that looks good. Well, that kind of stuff went away for us
Yeah.
because now my wife just goes through the Target app and the Walmart app and all that kind of stuff, and she just puts the stuff in the cart and we're done. Now we just
Yeah.
pull up and somebody brings it out to the car, and that saves us a lot of time right there. We're not walking
Yep.
through the store and spending the time to do that, and then spending frivolous money on random stuff that we really don't need.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's crazy how much stuff that we automated, just that I automated over the years,
Hmm.
that has freed up time. I mean, now we have a housekeeper that does our cleaning,
Yep.
house cleaning, so we don't even have to do that. And I mean, just different things that provides the opportunity for us to create more time. You're talking about
Yep.
work from home, create more time to not only work from home, but be able to spend time with our family.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Eh, So okay, so we got that nailed down. I know there's a lot of dads that might feel overwhelmed right now with, I mean, for dads listening who feel overwhelmed, what's the first small step they could take that from your playbook to help them today?
Yeah, I would say get aligned with your partner. I think like the conversation that we just had a little bit ago, like that's like step one because I have found like there's anytime there's discord in the marriage, it just ruins your day. Like it ruins your work. You're like you can't focus, you can't work. It's just like oh, it's hard to like. I mean, even if you're good at compartmentalizing and just like let me just not even think about that. It has an impact. So it's like the more you can just begin to be on the same page with your partner, the less you're just going to be having completely avoidable conflict. And I think that's why like that's the first thing that's in the playbook. And then going through after that, the other small win that I get to later in the playbook is like a lot of dads, a lot of people who work from home, I think they have a general sense of what they need to do that day,
Hmm.
but they don't always just like say and prioritize and think through what are my top priorities
Hmm.
today. I think they just start doing things that need to get done in the order that the things come to them at. And then
Hmm.
4 o'clock comes by, 5 o'clock comes by, and they realize, like, oh, shoot, I still have not gotten to that important thing that I was supposed to do. So
Hmm.
now they're rushing dinner. Now they're rushing bedtime so they can go back downstairs, or they're skipping bedtime and letting their partner do it so they can go back into their office and then actually get the high priority work done that they couldn't get done during the day because they didn't take 4 minutes at the beginning of the day to say, if I could only get three things done today, what three things need to get done? And I think just like I love my to do apps and using Notion, and I've got all the databases and all that stuff. But there's just so much power in just taking a note card and then just writing down MIT's most important things, big little three check boxes, and then just writing the three most important things that you need to get done that day that are going to move your work forward. Now, if you've got a bunch of meetings that day, maybe you only put one or two things on there. Don't put five things on there when you've got six meetings as if you're like, I'll just get them done around the meetings. Like, no, like be realistic as you can about what you can actually accomplish. And so that way, one, it's like so satisfying to actually physically check off something, and having that right there on your desk, it keeps you from jumping back into the project management software where you're going to see all the updates about the other projects that you might get sucked into. And then you can actually just be like, okay, what's the next thing that I need to get done? And then when you got those three things done, then you can be like, okay, this was a productive day. I have the physical proof that this was a productive day. And then you can get the other things done that you need to get done. But it keeps you from getting to the end of the day realizing you haven't actually gotten your most important work done yet. You can actually close the laptop, shut down the computer, close your office door, spend time with your family, not rush bedtime, and then just enjoy the rest of the evening with your partner or whatever else you want to do. So I would say those two things can really be like super high leverage. But they can also go to WFH Dads, stands for Work From Home Dads, WFHdads.com/ Playbook, and they can get the playbook completely for free. And I walk you through. You basically get an email from me for 5 days straight, where it's like at day number one, we talk about like how to like have that conversation with your partner. Day number two, talk about taking inventory of your time, all sorts of stuff. I get through the time freedom framework in there as well, and it's completely free. And wfhdads.com/playbook, and it comes with a little companion guide that I made in Notion, where you can like put notes and kind of start reflecting, like, what could I automate? What could I eliminate? What could I delegate? For each day, you can kind of add your own stuff and links to other resources that I share for like how you can track your time, either with like a spreadsheet or using an app or something like that. So it's all there at wfhdads.com/playbook.
Cool. I think one of the things, I mean, obviously getting aligned with our partner and making sure that you guys are both on the same page is super important, because that can create a lot of problems throughout the day or throughout the week if you guys aren't aligned. So that's obviously number one. But I think what you're talking about, most important things, the MITs, I think there are probably 90% of the dads out there don't focus on the most important things.
Yeah,
They just do what you said. They just do
yeah,
what comes up next, what comes up next, what comes up next. And then they realize, oh crap, I did have two other things I was supposed to do today and I never got them done
yeah.
because I kept getting distracted and sucked into other tasks. And one of the things that I do, I actually like to do it, is writing down in the morning, okay, what do I have? I look at my calendar to see what meetings I have today, and then I go through and I write down, okay, I got a meeting at this time and a meeting at this time and a meeting at this time. But in between those meetings, I've got to get this done and I've got to get this done. And then it's amazing that once you have those most important things done, it's amazing how I don't want to say powerful, but how I guess
There's a
exhilarating it.
levity that comes to the
Yeah, it's
rest
just
of the
like
day.
now I feel like I can just kind of decompress a little
Yeah,
bit and just carry on with my day and not
yeah,
stress about these MITs because I already checked them off.
yeah.
But trying to keep them in your head, trying to remember that you're going to do them, it just more more than likely you're not going to get them done. That's
Yeah.
plain and simple. You need to have them
Yeah.
written down. You need to have them somewhere where they're written down, and you know you're going to follow that order, and don't go off key. Follow that order and make sure you stay to it, stay stuck to it, and get those things done. I think is super important, and it's crazy how much time it'll free up for you as well.
Yeah, and I will say sometimes it is hard to know like what are the most important things. If I've got like a list of 15 things that I know I can't do all in one day, it can be a challenge. And I think that's one of those things where if you have if you're working on it for a company and you have like someone that's like a manager that you can kind of be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking are like generally, that for this quarter or this week that are my most important things. Would you agree with that? Like, would you say that that's in line with like what needs to happen? So it can be a challenge sometimes to like know what your most important things, but I would also say like try to break down your tasks into like finite pieces. So it's like if you've got like a task of, secure $20,000 grant, that you haven't even started, and it's like it's really like 30 steps in one. Don't make that like your MIT. Like there's a process of breaking bigger tasks up into smaller tasks. That's a part of that as well. But yeah, so I wanted to at least speak to that because sometimes you don't want to create an MIT that is really like a 3-week project and then like make that your first checkbox.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be a good idea to do that. No, yeah, I totally agree with that. Looking ahead, what's your vision for work from home dads?
So two things. I'm kind of getting out there right now and just kind of sharing this program, this free playbook that I've created. And in time, like one of the big pain points that I see a lot of work from home dads have is this lack of community and accountability.
Hmm.
And so I want to create a membership, online membership program where a bunch of work for home dads can, come together. It's similar to a Facebook group, but it's not on Facebook, so you're not going to be like on Facebook.
Hmm.
But there'd be like one of the key aspects of it is there's going to be these monthly challenges, really doable things of like a lot of things like maybe in, will be in line with like the playbook, like, hey, this month is your month for delegation. What
Mm.
are, five big things that you're going to try to, or three big things that you're going to try to delegate? Or this month is the month that you start, coming up with like your fitness routine if you don't have one, or like thinking through what your fitness routine, like the different things that you can focus on every month, and then having the accountability from other dads that are working from home. I envision like this being a place where people can actually check in and say like, hey, these are my MITs for the day, and actually like forcing them to like do it and having a place that document it and supporting one another. I see it as a place where we can have co-working sessions where you go and meet with other dads on a Zoom call or something, and then it's an hour where it's like everyone says like, hey, I'm Tom. This next hour, my main focus is to get this thing done that I'm working on. Everyone shares, and then you just work, and there's music playing in the background, and at the end of that hour you got to say, all right, so my plan was to get this thing done, and did you get it done, or did you get sucked into Slack or email or social media? And it's like this built-in like, I better stay focused because I don't want to be the guy that like didn't get the thing done that I said I was going to get done. So it's actually helping dads be more productive with their time, and then just also getting feedback. Once I build this out, getting feedback from other dads of like what they would like to see more of and less of, but building that like sense of community for a group of guys that may be lacking in community, given that they work from home.
Oh, that's awesome. I think a membership program, something that where dads can kind of join a work from home dad group and
Hmm.
where they can kind of support and be held accountable. I mean, that's one of the things that, like, I mean, just talking about accountability in itself. I mean,
Hmm.
with the running that I've done all year long. I mean, there's one of the things that I do is I post an update of how many miles I've gone each day on my story.
Yeah.
It's just as an accountability to say, okay,
Yep.
I did my task. This is what I did, and I'm showing you that, yeah, this is the miles I'm at now. So I share that on social media just as an accountability point for me
Hmm.
to say, yeah, I got my run done. That's what I did. So I think, yeah, having a group, being a part of a group where they can all come together and they have similarities in that they all work from home and they all have, various tasks they have to do, being held accountable to other dads. Because you know what? Dads will hold you accountable. Other men
Yeah.
will hold you accountable, and they'll talk, excuse my language, but they'll talk shit about you if
Yeah.
you don't do what you're supposed to do. So I think that's really cool. Yeah, well, I appreciate you sharing that. Obviously, work from home, so WFHdads.com, I'm assuming is the place to go. If they
Hmm.
want to, if my guests, or my guests, my listeners, my viewers, they want to learn a little bit more about you or learn a little bit more about the program, that would be the place to go. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, wfhdads.com/playbook. That'll send you right to the place so you can sign up to get the playbook for free. And then even at the wfhdads.com, you'll see a lot of old, previous issues of my newsletter all as well, if you want to see what that'll look like. And then at the very end of the playbook, I send you an email like letting you know about the community, and there's a place where you can join the wait list, so you can be one of the first ones to find out about it, if that's something that you're interested in as well.
Cool. Cool. Well, I think that's awesome. I think it's a great idea. I think a lot of men would benefit from it. So I highly encourage dads out there, if you're watching this or whatever, listening to this, make sure you go check that out. Thanks, Tom, for being on the show, man. Thanks for sharing what you're doing. I think what you're doing is helping other men get not only organized, but prioritize their day and help them to not only get their tasks done that they need to get
Mhm.
done, but also spend the time that they
Yeah,
can with their family and spend the
yeah,
time with their kids. It frees up time for their kids, which is really important. So I appreciate you sharing all that, and it was really great meeting you. And I hope that you and I can stay in touch.
yeah, definitely. I appreciate you having me on, Brian. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, guys, it's been another episode of Dad Up. I want to thank my good friend Thom Gibson for being on, and make sure you go to the WFH Dads slash playbook .com slash playbook. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. WFH Dads looks super clean, but then when I realized I had to start saying it out loud, I was like, that doesn't roll off the tongue as nicely as I'd hoped.
Yeah. Well, make sure you guys go there. The links are in the show notes below. You can check out all the links there if you want to go and check out a little bit, learn a little bit more about Tom, see what he's doing. His social media links are all there. So make sure you guys do that. And listen, if you want to sign up, get on the wait list for the Work From Home Dads program. Highly encourage it. I think it'll help you. I believe it would help you not only be organized, but get organized, but prioritize your day. And also, most important, free up time where you can spend with your family. And that's what this show is all about, is spending time. How do we organize our time to spend more, organize our day to spend more time with our family? And so what Tom's done there is phenomenal. And you can find that all in the links below. And listen, if you're not yet subscribed to my show, please make sure you do that so you don't miss any of the awesome guests. All you got to do is check the little bell at the top of the link there, and you'll be able to see my shows every single week so you don't miss any of the guests that I have on each and every week. And as always, I'll see you on the next episode of Dad Up. Wow, another amazing episode in the books. So much was shared, and I'm truly grateful my guest was able to pour into you to help you elevate your dad game and really dad up. Make sure you bang that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're here, please don't forget to leave me a rating and a review. I always appreciate the feedback. And one last thing, don't forget, your role as a dad is one of the most important roles you have. So if you need a little help or have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me on my website at daduptribe.com or at my Instagram page at Dad Up Podcast. Until next time, everyone, Dad up.